And welcome back. This is your man Warrior, and I have done a free-to-play how to farm guide, and there are so many people that have responded with such joy saying this is an amazing video series, except one thing: we want to know team comps, team compositions. And I know in my first video I showed a bunch of team compositions, but they kind of went through really quickly, and people really want to know, hey, if I'm doing the RANCOR, what should I do? You know, some primo teams, so to speak. So I'm going to go through it pretty quickly again today. Really, your imagination is what limits what you can and can't do, but I know you're looking for the best synergy and really what's going to give you the best bang for your buck. Now, I suggested 26 characters, and I'm going to stick with those 26. However, I did mention those 26 characters will, in fact, unlock, because of the Rebels, your Emperor Palpatine, so I'll show you a couple of alternate snapshots of other teams that may have Emperor Palpatine involved, and that's only teams that once you unlock him you'll be able to utilize. So first we'll just go right into the RANCOR raid. The first thing you're going to want with the RANCOR raid is the strongest team to be able to solo P1 and get as far into P2 as possible. P1 and 2 meaning phase 1 and 2, obviously. And so the RANCOR raid, the first team that I would highly suggest is going to be a Wedge lead with Biggs. Wedge and Biggs are going to smash the RANCOR hard and really fast. In phase 1 you're going to have the piggies, and so you get to kill those piggies with the triple mollywop from Biggs. And so the other team that I would synergize with this is going to be some turn meter reducers to give you more bang for your buck, get further along the raid, and someone to slow them down. So I would put in someone like Fives from the list, and someone like Rex, who on his basic can reduce turn meter, as well as Qui-Gon Jinn to reduce turn meter. And between Rex and Qui-Gon, you're going to be able to reduce quite a bit of turn meter. Fives is going to be slowing them down, and your Biggs and Wedge are just going to be hammering home the team. So that's going to be an excellent team for free-to-play in the first one. Obviously, Tebow, everybody's going to say, why did you leave Tebow out of the RANCOR raid? He just didn't make the top 26 list. He's still a freaking awesome player, or awesome character, but if you wanted to farm him and stick him on this team, you could always do that. But like I said, these are just some ideas. So if you didn't want to do that, in the other phase 1 or phase 2, you could also utilize the Wedge Biggs combo, but put in the TIE Fighter pilot, because he's going to put that tenacity down, which will then help your Qui-Gon Jinn and Rex with their turn meter reduction. So that would be another team, of course, would be the TIE Fighter instead of Fives. So, you know, tenacity down, slowing them down with speed down, those are just different thought processes. Another variant as you're going along could be also the Wedge and the Biggs combo with Captain Phasma for your speed down, plus she's going to be able to boost people's turn meter, as well as using Rex and Qui-Gon. I hope you see kind of a theme here. You're talking high damage per second, DPS, that's coming from Wedge and Biggs. You're also getting some speed down from either Fives or Captain Phasma, and you're getting some turn meter reduction from Qui-Gon Jinn and Rex. Now again, I know that Tebow's not on my list, so I didn't put him in these items, but if you could get Tebow, he's definitely going to be another one of those additions that you might want for the RANCOR raid specifically. Now, for some other just kind of throw together teams out of this free-to-play list for, you know, phase 2, phase 3, or phase 4, when you're facing the actual RANCOR and you actually have to beat him, he's going to have a gate. You get to bust that gate down, and when the gate falls, you get to hammer him quite a bit. Any team is really going to work well for that, but you know, you could have an Admiral Akbar to kind of clear off the debuffs that RANCOR applies, Sun Fac to put critical chance down and kind of be a tank to help protect the team. You could use Geonosian Soldier. He's going to be a heavy hitter, calling assists. You could also use Lando, or, you know, put in Stormtrooper Han as a form of a tank. You know, you could vary that by taking obviously Stormtrooper Han out, because you might not see value in having multiple tanks against the RANCOR, and having like, you know, Jedi Knight Anakin put in there instead. And so with that, there's always that possibility as well. The other thing is, in RANCOR, really you can build any kind of a team. So you could build a Jedi synergy team, and you could put Ayla as the lead, and you could put Barriss in there. You could put in Luminara and Qui-Gon Jinn with Ahsoka, or you could kind of do a variant of that where you have Jedi Knight Anakin as the lead, have Ahsoka, Barriss, and Ayla Secura, and Qui-Gon Jinn. So, you know, there's just a ton of different options that you can do as you get further along in the raid, you know, in phase 3 or maybe phase 4. Maybe you're just trying to do some additional damage, put yourself on the board. You could always have a Boba Fett lead with IG-88 for ability block, as well as just high damage. Lando, and you've got, of course, B2 you could throw in there, or Stormtrooper Han. So there's just a ton, like I said, of variants between all of these different teams that you could throw in there. None of them are in the free-to-play list are going to be like crazy overpowered. I would say the strongest lineup that you're going to get in this free-to-play team, and I would really highly suggest it, is either the Wedge Biggs combo with TFP and Rex and Qui-Gon Jinn, or the Biggs and Wedge combo with Qui-Gon Jinn, Rex, and Fives. Fives is going to be a little more durable than TFP, but TFP kind of takes care of himself by being evasive, and he gets the tenacity down, which will make sure your turn meter reduction happens. So let's kind of move on to the AAT tank raid, because a lot of people are going to want to know what my thoughts are on that, and how in the heck are we going to do the AAT tank raid with just 26 of these free-to-play characters. So the first phase, you can do it a couple of ways, but I highly suggest you do a Jedi team, probably Ayla as the lead, because what's going to happen with Ayla is not only is she going to give the entire Jedi team tenacity up, so they're not going to resist effects, but they're also going to gain life every time they resist an effect. So that is excellent. The other person I'd put in is Barris, so you have a healer, someone that's going to be able to help, and if you have her Zeta ability done, she's going to help them gain life as they're being damaged. And then Jedi Knight Anakin and Ahsoka are a great double, you know, duo combo to put in there. And then Qui-Gon Jinn's excellent because he's going to be a dispeller. So for your Jedi, as you're going against the team, you're having a difficult time taking out the Grievous because the tanks keep taunting, you know, you'll have Qui-Gon Jinn there to try and get yourself back on track against General Grievous. So this Jedi team is really what I would suggest for phase 1. And again, the best 5 in my opinion would be, you know, an Ayla lead with Barris, Qui-Gon Jinn, Anakin, as well as Ahsoka. In phase 2, I think a lot of people know that really the best bang for your buck, free to play, especially on this list, is going to be your droids. So you're going to want to have an HK lead. You're going to then want 88 and 86, as well as your Jawa engineer. And then I would throw in probably B2 on this. He's another droid. He's going to bring along droid synergies, but I mean, you can vary this if you want to try and kind of speed it up. You could put in Stormtrooper Han. What he's going to do in this, if you do that, is he's actually going to taunt. He's going to take a couple of hits, giving a couple extra turn meters to the droids, which is always successful. Now, again, these team compositions are based off of the 26 I told you to farm, so these are some of my ideas. But again, in phase 1, I would do the Ayla lead Jedi team. In this phase 2 of the AAT, I would do HK-47 for sure as your leader in your droids. For phase 3, it can kind of be a hodgepodge. You could really do about anything, but I mean, you could have a Admiral Akbar lead with Sunfac as a tank, and have someone like Boba Fett and Lando in the background doing AoEs and doing mad damage, and then having someone like Fives to slow them up. And remember, now we're not talking about Rancor, we're talking about AAT, so you could use Fives in this third phase since you haven't used them in the first 2 phases of the Rancor. So there's teams like that you can put in there. You could have Admiral Akbar, Sunfac, you know, Fives, Boba Fett, like I just said, and instead of Lando, you could put in a Genosian soldier. However, in phase 3, there's a lot of the little robots that you got to go against. So with all of those adds, I would definitely probably go with Boba Fett and Lando, so you can do a lot of damage spread amongst a number of those individuals. But if you want to use Lando for phase 4 with your rebels, then you might want to put Geonosian soldier in there. He's going to hit hard. He's also got an assist. Anytime you can get an assist, like I said, it's definitely worth it. And then, of course, once you unlock Emperor Palpatine, because you have, of course, all the rebels, you would need to do that. You could have something pretty cool, like you could have the Emperor Palpatine, and you could have him with a Stormtrooper Han here, so that way as Stormtrooper Han gets hit, it gives Emperor Palpatine turn meter so he can get that shock off onto all those add robots, all those additional robots, and then he's going to continue to get more and more turn meter. You can do kind of that walk that you've probably seen on YouTube, where you shock all the robots and then you can shock the main robot, and it's just over and over and over. You'll get, you know, 20, 30 shocks easily in a walk on a heroic. And then you could throw in someone like Royal Guard to kind of trigger once because he'll counter the main tank, or the main robot will counter. And as he counters, he will start to take your Emperor Palpatine down. So you're going to need someone like Royal Guard to auto-trigger, or someone like Jedi Knight Anakin. So in a team like this, you know, 5s to slow those add robots down, having Jedi Knight Anakin to be able to do the AoE and to put buff immunity, as well as trigger anytime someone goes below 50% health, or anytime someone dies, he'll get that extra turn and do more damage. Royal Guard, similar principle, but defensively, he'll auto-trigger. And like I said, this is only when you'll end up unlocking Emperor Palpatine. So that's a thought. In phase 4 of the AAT tank raid, you're going to have, of course, the Wedge and Biggs combo. You can put Lando in there if you want to have an additional AoE. You could put Stormtrooper Han or not, or Admiral Akbar or not in here. This is just ideas. Again, it depends on how you build phase 1, 2, and 3 as to what characters you're going to have left for phase 4. So I've thrown a lot of different ideas, but the different ideas don't conflict as long as you lay out all 4 of the teams that you want to do. A variant, if you were, you know, using Admiral Akbar or Stormtrooper Han on a previous one, is you could throw in Captain Phasma into this team, or Luminara, so that way you've got some heal and some slowdown. You know, Captain Phasma's got that speed down AoE, and Luminara could, of course, you know, continue to heal the team. So there's those options as well. And then let's go ahead and move past the AAT tank raid, and you're going to go into like light side and dark side missions. And so for like dark side missions, kind of my go-to, my fun team. There's a couple of them I think that would be really fun out of this free-to-play group of 26 characters, and one would be the Captain Phasma lead, of course, Captain Phasma with an IG-86, IG-88, and then in the background have Old Daka as your healer and Royal Guard as your tank. That would be a really fun and powerful team. You could opt and take out 86 and throw in Geonosian Soldier, so that way you have him calling an assist, but 88 that calls in an assist, it's just Geonosian Soldier's a little tankier. You know, he takes a little bit more damage, and he also gives himself some extra turn meters, so that's pretty cool. When the day comes that your rebels are good enough, you can unlock Emperor Palpatine. Of course, a dark side team you could do that would be fun would be Emperor Palpatine as lead. Eventually you'll unlock Darth Vader. It's not a part of my 26 free-to-play list, but everybody gets Darth Vader, and so he could be available to you to put on this team, as well as IG-88. And then, of course, Old Daka and Royal Guard. Something you'll notice, by the way, on my dark side suggestions, well, they'll always be the tank of Royal Guard, and they'll always be the Old Daka as the healer. Old Daka is the best dark side healer. Royal Guard is really one of the best tanks in the game, definitely in the top 5. That's why he's in this top 5 free-to-play. So there's those options as well. Now, if we move over to light side, and you want to have some really cool light side teams that can take it to the end, you know, a Wedge Biggs combo, of course, is always very, very strong. You could put in Jedi Knight Anakin. Of course, he's got the AoE, plus he's got buff immunity, plus if anyone gets hurt below 50% or dies, he's gonna, you know, do extra damage and get extra turns. And then you could put in Lando and Stormtrooper Han. Now, the only downside to Stormtrooper Han is, while he's gonna help everybody else go a lot, he tends to die. So if you're trying to go through the light side missions and get through the light side missions without actually losing anybody, you might want to pull Stormtrooper Han off of your team just to make sure that you make it through the light side missions and 3-star them, because of course you're going to want to 3-star them so you can farm those hard nodes on the light side. You can make some variants of these light side teams, such as throwing in Admiral Akbar. That would be a pretty cool option. Put him in as lead with Lando underneath. That will give him the ability to let Lando go twice immediately with his special ability, as well as keeping Biggs and Wedge. I know a lot of people are like, well, Biggs and Wedge are kind of becoming a thing of the past. You know, now for free to play, they're going to continue to get you through Galactic War. They're going to get you through the Squad Arena. There's so many different, you know, options there You could also change it up a little bit. You could put Lando in the lead, and you could have Wedge and Biggs and have Stormtrooper Han as well as Qui-Gon Jinn, and you could put Qui-Gon Jinn in there for dispelling the opponent, so that way you could get rid of those taunts as you're going against those taunts. And again, we're just talking free to play at this point. For the light side missions. You could also mix it up. Instead of Lando lead, you could put in Rex lead. He's going to give your team additional turn meter. He'd be someone you could sub in if you want to make sure that your team, as they're being critically hit, get extra turns with the extra turn meter from his ability. Or you could pop in with a Rex lead, and you could drop the Qui-Gon Jinn. You could put in Barriss. Maybe you have had the ability to Zeta Barriss's ability. You could throw her into one of these light side teams. So that's kind of cool too. And then another option you could do as well for light side missions, like I said, there's so many options, is maybe do Rex and do Wedge and Biggs, and then do Ayla. Ayla is a stunner, and so she's going to stun anytime she gets a crit, so that's pretty cool. And then put in Fives. You know, Fives going to slow them down, and Fives is real tanky, and so he's going to get to shoot twice on his basic if he's got speed down applied to them, if you have that Omega. So there's that. And then of course, you're going to have Galactic War, you're going to have Squad Arena, you're going to have all these other places, and every team that I've just mentioned you can use in those areas. But here are some unique ideas for the Galactic War to get through it, or for Squad Arena to hold a really high position, is maybe a Boba Fett lead. So if you have Boba Fett, everybody's going to hit harder because they're getting that critical chance and critical damage, right? And then you've also got Jedi Knight Anakin you can put on there. So he's going to kind of protect the team, do more damage, got the AoE. Of course, Wedge and Biggs is in there to do some mad damage, and B2 to level the playing field. See, B2 is going to prevent the other team from being able to really taunt and use their Stormtrooper Hans or the Royal Guards or whatever, because you're going to get that buff immunity over people's heads, and so that's an excellent thing. TIE Fighter Pilot and B2 really are an equalizer. Those two characters, I think every free-to-play team has to have those two in their lineup, because you're going to run into a team that you just can't beat, and it's going to be B2 and TIE Fighter Pilot that's going to be able to get you through that team that you're struggling with. So you could also mix it up. I know this next team I used for many months, which is Lando lead, Wedge, Biggs, Stormtrooper Han, and Sunfac. Now what that's going to do for you is Stormtrooper Han, make him really fast. He's going to taunt. They're going to hit him. He's going to give everybody a bunch of turn meter. Lando makes everybody faster as well and do more damage. Wedge and Biggs are already doing damage with Wedge's AoE, and the fact that Biggs has his triple mollywop plus, the two of them combined both hit for like 20k on their basics, which is just absolutely nuts, or more. And then Sunfac's there to taunt, to try and help keep the heat off of your a little squishier damage per second characters, your DPS characters like Lando and Wedge and Biggs. So then you got Sunfac, and Sunfac also puts critical chance down, so the other team's not hitting you for as much. They have a lower chance of critting, which is important, especially with all the damage per second characters that are out there. He's really tanky, and just having another tank on the team is not bad. So I use this team for many times in the arena for sure. And then you could mix it up as well. Once you unlock Emperor Palpatine, like I said, you could throw him in lead. You could throw in Royal Guard to kind of be his backup, and then you could still leave in Wedge and Biggs if you wanted to have high DPS, and throw in Sunfac, right? Because this is just a crazy team that you can do this, right? In arena, this is awesome. So this is another fun arena team you could have. Another fun arena team would be Wedge and Biggs, but have Wedge as the leader. So Wedge and Biggs are super fast and self-heal when they do damage, and then have B2 as the equalizer, so that way you're dispelling the opponents and getting rid of their taunts. And then you've got Sunfac there to back up in case B2 misses someone, to dispel on his basic, as well as be a tank that actually taunts where your other tank does not. B2 does not taunt. And then you could have Boba Fett there for any time you run into a Churd or Baze or someone that's getting a ton of buffs, or even debuffs for that matter. If you're debuffing the other team with your Sunfac and your B2 and possibly Wedge's basic, he does defense down, you could use Boba to execute, and Boba just is, after his rework, has been really, really great. So there's that as well. And you could mix it up again, and you could do, Arena or Squad Arena or Galactic War with a team like this. Boba Fett lead. You could put in the Wedge and Biggs combo once again. They're going to be your free-to-play best friends. You could put a Jedi Knight Anakin, maybe B2, again, as an equalizer on the team to dispel and get rid of the other side's buffs. So there's so many teams. I just showed you over 30 different team comps that you can build, and honestly, when you guys asked me to do this, I started going through and I got overwhelmed by the number of teams I was able to put together. There's another 100 teams I could easily put together, and I know there's 100 people watching this right now that are like, but you forgot to do this team with this team or this person with that person. Absolutely, you're right. These are just some of my best ideas of what you can throw together for the RANCOR raids, for the AAT, for all 4 phases, when you're doing your light side, your dark side missions, if you're playing in Squad Arena or Galactic War. So I hope these teams, I hope I didn't go through it too fast, but if I did, you can always go back and rewatch the video, and you can pause it so you can see all the different team comps. Figure out one you like the best, and if you come up with one from my list that's even better than what I've come up with, share them in the comments down below for other people who are checking out this video. As always, have yourselves a wonderful afternoon. Keep your gaming on. Warrior out.